I'm Sal.
I'm Beth.
We are the Brewery Lovers with a new style guide. What are we doing?
Italian Pilsner.
But not just any Italian Pilsner. Ludlam Island Brewery, Woodbine, New Jersey's Italian Pilsner, which happens to be called Salvatore. What a coincidence.
Not a coincidence.
So you're probably wondering how that happened. Isn't it beautiful?
It's a pretty label.
They just did an awesome job with this label. And the beer's darn good too. But I was in the brewery when one of the owners came down to the brew team and said, "Can you guys make an Italian Pilsner in time for Columbus Day?" And the head brewer, Joey, looked up at the calendar
schedule.
And he said, "Yeah, I think we can do that." So it was kind of fun to be there when that just happened to be in the brewery at that moment. The genesis of a new beer at the brewery. I'd never been, that early on in that process. So then it was just, I didn't have any involvement in the development of the beer, but I did have a lot of questions. So I was constantly peppering Joe and Brian and Holden. What are you going to put in it? What kind of hops? How strong is it going to be? Et cetera, et cetera. And what I never asked them is, what are you guys going to call it? I don't know why. I assume they probably had a cover story ready. But the entire brewery, including Beth, knew that they were going to name it Salvatore in honor of the Brewery Lovers, which I thought was pretty darn amazing. So
yeah, I don't like to keep secrets, but I managed to keep that one.
They called us down when we were out of town, and they called us down. You guys got to be here. We're like, why? You got to be here. We're like, okay. So we drove down there, and they pull out this. Look at this beer we found. They said, and I said, wait a minute. See, I know how the labeling works at Ludlam Island. You could do 100 of these as long as they're ordering X number of labels. It doesn't matter how many. You could have 100 of this, 500 of that, 1,000 of these. And my first thought was, oh, isn't that sweet? They did 100 labels, for us, for the Brewery Lovers. And then I said, wait, is this what you named the beer? And they said, yeah. And I said, are you shitting me? Anyway, that was a fun day. Plus, boy, is the beer good. We're going to have a little in a minute.
We are. Do you want to do a little history?
Beth first. Yes, of course. Beth is going to tell you about...
Well, you're going to have to say a lot of the Italian.
I'll say the word.
So it really did start in Italy.
It's also not an old style. It's pretty new.
1996.
There you go.
Specifically.
Okay.
Brewer named Agostino Arioli.
Yep.
You want to say that better
you
than me?
You got it right.
At a brewery called...
Birrificio Italiano.
Okay. In Como, Italy. So Agostino trained in both Germany and England to be a brewer, not in his native Italy. So he wanted to make a Pilsner, but he wanted to include the English style of dry hopping in the cask. So he was kind of creating a new style right then.
It's not like a Pilsner Urquell or a Beck's or even a Stella, which is a Pilsner made in Belgium. Traditionally, those beers would not be dry hopped. And dry hopping just means that you're adding hops during fermentation after the brew process, after you've boiled and mashed and done all that stuff.
Actually, this one's a little bit unique.
Yeah.
Well, it's...
No, I'm just talking about dry hopping in general.
Okay, in general.
So they understood the term.
Okay.
But yeah, you can tell them what's unique about
So
this.
they actually... So it's characterized by dry hopping, because usually pills are not dry hopped at all. But they actually dry hop this one. They start during the primary fermentation when the yeast is still active, which you don't necessarily always do that. So you got a combination of yeast and hop that creates a different flavor profile. So this one, it's also fermented at a higher temperature than most lagers. It's fermented at about 52 degrees Fahrenheit. So unlike most lagers that, because of the lagering process and the way they ferment, you don't get a lot of fruity esters, but these you do get some fruity esters.
Because it's a little bit of a higher fermentation temp.
Higher fermentation temperature.
This one started around 50, and then Joe just let it go from there. So it would rise gradually through the ferment as the yeast, because the yeast produce energy as they're reproducing, and they actually produce their own heat. But it's the color is just about perfect. It's super bright.
Yeah, so a typical Italian Pilsner would have an ABV of 4 to 5.5. It's light in color. It's clean in body. It's unfiltered.
And it smells amazing. I wish you could smell it.
And it uses European hops. Because American hops are just considered too aggressive.
The standard noble. But you can see how nicely bright it is and effervescent. I think you can see that.
Yeah, I think. So Agostino started with traditional noble hops. But an American brewer at Firestone Walker, his name is Matt, I might pronounce it incorrectly, Brynildsen, again out of Firestone Walker. He met Agostino in Italy, I believe, or at a competition somewhere in Europe, fell in love with this beer, brought it home to California, worked out his own recipe, and instead of using traditional noble hops, he used Sapphire, which the original Italian, the name of the beer is called, you want to say it?
Which one? Tipo Pils?
Tipo Pils,
yeah.
Which means kind of Pils, because it's not a traditional German
Tipo
Pils.
is type, so a type of Pilsner, Tipo Pils.
And when it moved to the United States, Firestone Walker called it Pivo Pils.
Which means beer pills.
Yeah.
Pivo is beer in Czech, or the Czech language.
And when Agostino tried Pivo Pils, he preferred the hops that was used in America.
He liked the Sapphire better.
So now Tipo Pils uses Sapphire.
Oh, right. Agostino started making it the American way.
Yep.
Yeah, it's an awesome story.
Like, what an honor to... he said he influenced the influencer.
Yeah, he did.
So...
And this is Satz and Hellertau?
I think so.
Yeah.
There's also, last year in 2024, there was a Tipo Pils Day around the world on 3/21. I can't find a date for 2025 Tipo Pils Day.
It's super crisp. It's hoppy, but it's not real bitter. The aroma is, you get the sort of sulfur hit that you get from lager, which is completely appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
But then you also get a big nose of, I would say, floral or herbal.
Yeah,
hops.
Compared to German Pils, it's a little bit more hoppy, more fruity, a little bit more malty.
And I'm a huge fan of Satz, which is the traditional hop for Czechoslovakian Pilsner. So that was if I had any contribution, it was just saying, you're going to use Satz, right, Joe? You're going to use Satz, right, Joe? Like every day. Because Joe actually made an Italian Pilsner. Not many people know this. Lawn Chairs is technically an Italian Pilsner because it's a traditional Pilsner that's dry hopped. But it's bigger, much bigger than Salvatore. It's more bitter. It's got more, I think, a more assertive hop. It's really good. I drank a lot of it this past summer before Salvatore came out. But this is a lot closer to a traditional Pilsner without the dry hopping. It's real light. It's very light, but not crazy light. It's got a huge amount of flavor.
Yeah, it's very flavorful.
As Beth said,
you
get malt and you get the little bit of the fruity ester from the fermentation.
Flowers.
And yeah, just...
In fact, when the Seed in Atlantic City makes this, they call it Fury, which Italian means flowers.
Flowers,
right?
yeah, because you get so many floral aromas from the hops. And what I was about to say, and I forgot, is that it smells like a Czech lager, which I really like because that's one of my favorite styles.
So it was really fun for me as a beer tender. Every time somebody would come up to the counter and ask for a Salvatore, I'd have a little giggle. And then I would turn around to the beer faucet, and pull the beer, which was labeled Sal.
Sal.
So, just fun for both of us.
I ordered one day, and the beer tender, Steph, I think she was bar cashier, Steph said, he wants one of himself. That was funny.
It is funny.
She's funny. Anyway, that's pretty much it on Italian Pilsner.
Yeah, so find an Italian Pilsner. They're made at breweries all over the country. It's an emerging style. It's becoming more and more popular.
I will tell you one thing. We've been drinking them kind of across the country just to get an idea of, how
other breweries,
how Salvatore compares, and Salvatore compares really well. We found a few that we really liked. We found a good one in Tucson, Arizona, called Superleggera from Moto Sonora.
Yep.
That was really nice. But then we've had others here and about, not as good as this. So Joe and Brian and Holden, you guys nailed it.
Yep.
And naming it after me was a huge bonus. You didn't have to do that, but I'm glad that you did.
Yep.
Good?
Yeah, good. Cheers.
Cheers.